It's trying to make the image as much of an encapsulation of the whole film as much as possible, but it's pretty hard to do.
Because they have 90 minutes and hundreds of thousands of frames to tell their story. I'm trying to tell the story of that film in one picture.
So the NFSA tells audiovisual culture and the National Portrait Gallery tells the history of Australian portraiture.
The two collections meeting together could produce this incredible exhibition.
We have an extensive and wonderful collection of material. It ranges from all sorts of film, home movies, 16mm, 35, nitrate, radio, TV, documents and artefacts. We will collect press kits, we will collect stills, we will collect post-production scripts, all sorts of things.
The fact that the NFSA has that mandate to preserve that material is so extraordinarily important, especially the original material.
We won't just collect one single photographic print, we'll collect hundreds of negatives or 35mm slides or posters or scrapbooks. So it's a much more organic collection with a lot more breadth, I suppose.
All different sort of objects like projectors, cameras, the large technology objects, TVs, radios, and etc., and different sort of textiles and costumes.
It is a most amazing collection at 2.8 million items, and it's growing every day. To this day, I can still go in and find things I didn't know that we have and go, ooh, ah.
So the whole process from when we had the idea to when we opened at the National Portrait Gallery, the first stage of the tour, would have been about 3 or 4 years. And so we did about 1.5 years to 2 years of collection survey because the collection is enormous.
Enormous.
The thing that captured our imaginations right at the very start, when in the first time I went out into the vaults and they showed me the casting books from Cinesound with the thousands of young hopefuls who'd sent in these beautifully studio-produced portraits of themselves in the hope of getting into the film industry, and that's where the title Starstruck came from. Lisa Tomasetti, her first film set was on the set of Shine. There's a really beautiful shot that we used of Geoffrey Rush and Scott Hicks that we used to start the exhibition.
I like that photograph of seeing that collaboration between a director and an actor, and you can see that Scott Hicks is just still lining up on Geoffrey Rush, but Geoffrey Rush is so in character mode. Like, we would have probably been bustling around him for 10, 15 minutes, but he just stays in that character, which I just think is such a beautiful respect.
Lion's a good example of a film with a lot of emotion. For instance, when the Dev Patel character, Saru, meets his mother in the village in India, finally, which the film's been building up to. He meets his mother in the middle of a big crowd, and so it's very difficult to get in there without being in their shot. I shot on a slightly longer lens, and pretty much the crowd are moving, they're moving, the other camera's moving, and the focus puller and the grip that's looking after his camera, and I'm doing a similar dance. You're just getting bounced around and jostled around, and my camera's hitting people on the head, and it's kind of live. It's live, very live work.
Strictly Ballroom for me was completely unique because it was the first time for pretty much everybody on the production to be doing it, and it felt like they were inventing it as they went along, but fabulous. Just everything was larger than life and more colourful than you could ever imagine. Baz was the only one in my entire time who actually put some thought into the poster while they were shooting the film. They were supposed to be like heroic, iconic image of Paul Mercurio, particularly in that matador costume that he had, and it was like a larger-than-life, classic Spanish hero, really. It's on a postage stamp, you can't get any better than that.
looking at Stu Spence's work on two hands. He's a fine art photographer that we hold in the Portrait Gallery collection. So it was interesting to find out he'd worked on a film set.
I knew the director, Gregor Jordan. He was interested in my style of photography. He had an idea that wouldn't it be interesting if in all that spare time that actors have on set, that a photographer could get those people and photograph them in character, but perhaps not on set. So it was a dream.
We included 4 portraits from Cosy, which is basically quite a light, humorous film. And for me, this is an example of the portraits moving sort of outside the documentation of the film into something quite different, because they're absolutely beautiful, moody, backlit portraits of Ben Mendelsohn, Toni Collette, Barry Otto and Rachel Griffith. And the Rachel Griffith one I didn't even recognise her when I first saw it. She was in profile looking at, parting a curtain and looking at the stage.
I wasn't taking portraits of the actors. I was taking portraits of their characters, which was, for me, was how I had tried to approach most of what I did in film.
To see the work of other photographers, my colleagues that I've worked alongside for 20 years, was really exciting.
It gives a sense of where you've come and where you're going, which I think is a real shame if we forget that.
There might be another Starstruck in 50 years and I'll be one of the old dinosaurs whose work looks dated but hopefully is inspiring to, you know, a young photographer shooting stills, if that still exists in 50 years' time.
To know that you're a part of that whole beast, that fabulous beast where we tell our stories, I feel incredibly chuffed. I feel very chuffed to be a part of it.